Usually we're not that close to them. Like we live on the north side, so we'll like drive down a couple blocks and park on the side. So like headed it. You ever been to the stadium? So you know like how you have to drive down that hill when you go down Grant, there's a little park there. We sit in the park and watch it from the top of the hill. So you know like it's super fun and it's free.
Okay.
And
So, Alice, can you hear me?
Yeah, super fun.
Yep, I can hear you.
Cool. We can hear you out of this speaker. So let me get this right. So you're going to share your screen, not me today, but I'm still hosting the Zoom and streaming it. But it
Right.
will work. Okay. Cool. Nice. All right. Well, I don't know when we need to get started. Maybe give people a little more time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Just ping me when you're ready to start.
Okay. I've been. Let me share for a little bit because I've been. I'm interested to see if you've done any of this.
Oh, sure.
Too, but I've been messing with TypeORM and
Mm-hmm.
trying. This is the way they define the models in TypeORM.
Yeah, decorators.
Right. So it's a decorator, and then these are cool because it says many to one on the on this side.
Mm-hmm.
So the message here is the many, right? So we
Right.
have many messages for one user. So this gets a many to one, and it goes right to user. And this is type safe, so it's like all TypeScriptified, and you can say user dot whatever. It already knows what user has, which is pretty sweet. And then this has to have the reverse, I guess. It's like both sides. I don't know. Anyway, I haven't gotten that far with it. The index page seems to do some kind of real wonky nonsense with like importing a bunch of calls them controllers. So like the scaffolding. I think I'm gonna make this more, closer to what we had, which is just the index page, and then we can, break out the controllers later.
Sure.
Rather than make it, confusingly different than what we already have.
Uh-huh.
It looks pretty straightforward. I haven't gotten it to connect to Postgres yet, but if it does, this is going to be nice.
Yeah. So do you want to use this for the end of the class, or?
Do you have something that you want to put on the server? I don't know if this is going to be ready, but we could do this at office hours if nothing else.
Okay. I was just going to. They have a test set that we can use to deploy. And then at the very end, I was going to add some database integration to that. So we can just do that.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
All right, I'll stop sharing. And I will full screen this here so it's on the TV.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're good to go. There's 5 people here right now, and we're waiting for more. Plus Doug. Doug's here.
Oh, hi, Doug.
He's not sitting here right now, but his computer's here, and he was here.
Hi, Doug's computer.
Okay, Tim's here. There's some people drifting in. I'm going to grab a drink of water real quick. I'll be right back. And
sure.
Cool, thank you.
Yep. Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
So it's not terrible, but I don't feel great. I didn't come up with
Hey everyone, how's it going? Alice, can you hear me?
Yep. How's it going, Jesse?
Awesome. Good. How are you, Alice?
I'm doing good.
Good. All right, folks. So, Alice, I'll hand it back to you or Gus or whoever in just a minute here, but just wanted to quick follow-up announcement from what I posted in the Slack today. So in terms of scheduling and stuff, we've heard your feedback. We really appreciate all of it. Max, myself, and Will and Doug have sort of been digging through it and making some adjustments here. But those changes and adjustments were driven by your feedback. So thank you so much, first and foremost, for that feedback. Very helpful. If you have any other feedback, don't hesitate to reach out to us. But I'll be talking about some other stuff on Monday. But the one that we just sort of wanted to get your thoughts on here, and I've already sent out a ton of polls. So again, thank you for answering those polls. Really helps us. What's up, Doug? And so in terms of scheduling, the final proposal that we sort of have here and we think will work the best is having end of this week going for DevOps stuff and whatnot with Alice wrapping up. Next week, week 19, will be React Basics. That'll be covered by Alice. Then week 20 will be testing with Jake Beard. That'll be a remote week. And then week 21 will be authentication authorization with Max. And then weeks 22 and 23 will be sort of intermediate React with Joey. And then the final week for the capstone presentations. We worked with them very closely to try to figure out scheduling and availability, capacity, and all that stuff. So what do folks think of that? We've ultimately moved up the React and the auth units so that you could get that stuff in time for your capstones. Because before we had React as the last piece. So hopefully by virtue of moving that up a bit, it's going to be helpful at least to dive into React a little sooner. And then you'll have the intermediate React, closer to the end, but hopefully it helps with the auth moving up a little more too. That's sort of the best we could do with the options we had. I know I sent out 1 million polls, but what do folks think of that proposed schedule I just had here? Any ideas, other questions? Good, good, yeah. Cool. So is everyone cool with the proposal? Otherwise, we'll lock it in our big spreadsheet and all that good stuff and communicate out to TAs. And Alice, I know you have the question regarding TA involvement. We'll be reaching out to all the TAs by the end of this week here, just with like the proposed new schedules and stuff like that. And then Alice might be on the call listening. But
Okay, sounds good.
Cool. Any other questions, folks? I'll be talking about more of those action items on Monday, but just wanted to not eat up too much class time today. So anything else, guys, to bring up?
The only other question was, what is the last, what's the cutoff that you want us to turn in stuff for?
The capstones?
Money?
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we just got ACH enabled by the county, so we should be able to start paying out sooner. But I was going to cut checks on Monday. So whatever stipends pending you have right now, is that you're referring to? What am I missing?
So what is our cutoff that we can turn in?
Oh, okay. Good question. So we're still waiting to hear back from the county, but technically our billing cycle ends at the end of this month. But we have asked for an extension for 1 more month into August. So right now it's July 30th or whatever the last day of July is, but that's probably going to end up being at the end of August. But that's not confirmed yet. So until we get that confirmation, assume that last day in July. But we'll keep you posted as soon as we find out about that extension. Hopefully we'll get that extension for August, but right now that's how it's currently set for scheduling. So hopefully that helps. And then I know Dana asked too about the cohort memberships. Unfortunately, those will expire the last day of class 2. So yeah. So if you're interested, the rates are pretty affordable for those, and we can probably figure out something with the folks over there too if you want to continue throughout the end of the program too after it's over. So
they do have open co-working on Wednesdays.
The cohort memberships.
That's something that we could use our stipend for, buying.
That's a good question. I'll leave that up to you for your discretion. But with all the server stuff going on, there might be server costs you want to spend there. But I'll leave that up to you for your discretion how you'd like to use it. But I'd encourage you though to use it more on the stuff for the program rather than the memberships. But it's up to you how you want to play it. But okay. Cool. Yeah, so just know, like, if you do that, then you won't have any additional funds for other stuff if they pop up in the last couple weeks, like React, for example. If there's React resources, I know there's 2 or 3 that I've used personally that are really good.
Well,
So.
that's how I wanted to put up with.
Yeah, exactly.
If I am pretty good, I think hopefully I should be in like really good shape in the next 3 weeks maybe.
Right.
Then I would know whether or not I would need to purchase anything else.
I'll make a note to follow up with the folks at the county and just see what that extension is looking like for end of August. And I'll keep you posted as soon as I find out. So, cool. That was a really good question. Thank you, Karen. Anything else, folks? Yes.
There's a Google Classroom thing here for a demo day on Monday. I just wanted
Yeah.
to double check and see if that was really happening or not.
Good question. So with all the schedule stuff kind of moving over the place, I'm going to send out another schedule too of like the actual demo days and touch points when they're happening. I know everything is like all over the place. So hopefully by end of week 2, once the schedule stuff's all firmed up, we'll also firm up the demo days to coincide with like the new mapping basically. For this upcoming Monday, the game plan is to not have it for that. It'll be the following Monday. So whatever that date ends up being. So that's kind of the game plan right now.
Can we add on the tag on the videos on YouTube, like day 1, day 2, day 3?
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be easier than watch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
I know I actually went to watch a couple and I'm like, wait, this is like the middle of.
So like the day of the week it lands on, so like day 1, day 2, day 3, day
Yeah,
4,
I would
whatever.
just day 1, day 2, otherwise.
It could just be like week 5.
Yeah, I think that Will has been going through and updating
They
those,
do have
but
the weeks now, which is really
Okay.
helpful, but.
the days in particular, yeah. So yeah, it's
Yeah, 'cause that's
it's kind of
all-
annoying, but in the meantime, until we update them, you can just like count back,
Yeah.
and that's kind of annoying. But yeah, I'll have people follow up and do that.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's like my second or third day, I gotta go back.
Cool. All right, folks. Anything else? Doug, anything you want to add? Any words of encouragement?
You guys are finding a way. I know this is tough, right? A lot of moving pieces, a lot of information. You guys are doing a great job. We're winding down here, which is crazy, right? It's only a few more weeks away. It's one of those things, right, where I know there's probably days where you want to take a race and you absolutely should, right? Don't hesitate to walk away from this stuff. Take a breath, be with your families, do what you need to do, relax. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun. What are we looking at? 5-6 weeks here?
Yeah, 5 week 19. I think this is. Even I can keep track of them.
So funny,
That's
like,
how fast we're moving.
start, right? Because then we transition into the
5
careers.
weeks of instruction left, and then the last week was.
Yeah, exactly. The capstone hub week. Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
so proud of how you guys have done so far. Yeah, this is not easy. You guys have done an exceptional job. Finish strong, and we'll have a lot of fun come late August.
Cool. All right. Anything on your end, Gus? Wanted to talk about or bring up?
No, I mean, I think, so Alice is doing a session on Heroku. The sign up, I still probably have a couple slots, hey, Dana? I still probably have a couple slots for this weekend, and of course, the next weekend, any weekend, all the times on that calendar. I'll post the link again. During office hours, I think we will try to do a review. We'll do some type ORM, and then we might try to set up a continuous integration pipeline, so we don't have to copy our code up to the server every time we want to deploy. So those are the things we'll try to do this weekend, and that's about it. Yeah. Oh, also there's a Women in Coding on Saturday in the morning. I'm going to try to go to that too. So I'll be pretty much at the Tech Garden all day on Saturday. So yeah, cool.
All right, awesome. So Alice,
Alice is right here on the screen on the computer with a presentation, and I'm going to sort of local TA, and I'll relay any questions into the microphone. Alice, does that sound good?
Yep, sounds good. Thank you.
Cool.
take it away, Alice.
Okay. So going up through this week, we kind of started off at real bare levels, like just how to spin up a server remotely, how to do the project. Oh. You guys kind of echo. Sorry, we got an echo for a second.
Okay. Just trying to make sure it's audible. Okay. Can everyone hear Alice coming out of the speaker?
We could try on the TV too.
On the TV volume?
We could change the output device to the TV if we
Would
need
it,
to.
it might feed back more if we do that though.
Try, sorry, Alice. Give us one
Okay,
second.
no worries.
Try now, Alice.
How's this?
Better? Worse?
When we talk, does it echo too much?
Oh, no, it's fine.
Okay.
Good?
Yep.
Cool. All right, all good,
Okay.
thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so Heroku. Basically, I think I mentioned probably Wednesday that there's ways that you could take the steps that we've been doing previously, like SSHing into your servers or zipping up your project files and SCPing them to your server. You could write scripts to do that, but people have already done that. So why would you have to want to do that a second time? And that's what Heroku is. Heroku, just go over these goals briefly for today. So first thing we want to do is sign up for Heroku. We want to create our application. I want to show you how to use the Heroku CLI. Going to deploy a test application. Next, we're going to get our database set up. And finally, we're going to point our domain names to our Heroku application. The assignment for this week is just going to be either upload your chat room app, or if you're able to and you have enough code there, upload your capstone. So this seems like a lot. So I'm gonna hopefully move through it at a kind of a fast clip. If you have any questions at any point, please let me know. I'll try and stop after each bullet point here so we can get caught up for everything. So let's talk a little bit about why you'd want to use Heroku. So Heroku is what's known as a platform as a service provider. Platform in this case means just like the platform that you put your apps on. So instead of selling like an application that you use, they sell you the space to host your own applications. So point one here is a fully managed platform. Basically just means you only need to worry about making sure your code runs. You don't have to worry about making sure your server is updated. You don't have to worry about making sure that your server is configured correctly. You just have to make sure that when you deploy your app to Heroku, it runs. It's got some very nice, friendly tooling built in. The only thing you have to do to deploy an app to Heroku, just base level, is do a git push. And after that, it will figure it out for you. There's some configuration you have to do to your app to get it working on the first place, but it's not too bad. It's got built-in CI/CD available, kind of like what Gus was talking about during the office hours to show you how to build your own CI/CD. Heroku does offer that as a service. So if you want to get a bit more fancy, say you want to have, generally the use case would be you have multiple stages of apps. So you have like a testing stage, which is where you can do testing on your application, and then production, which is where you push your application from testing after you've done your testing and you know it's good for production. So Heroku has the service built in to let you do that. Final point, it's got a lot of third-party add-ons. So, I mean, the basic app architecture of our chat room app is Node.js and Postgres. And that's natively it's natively supported by Heroku. They have native support for Node.js, and they have native like a Postgres add-on that you can easily get up and running alongside your app. But if you wanted to use, say, MongoDB or MySQL or maybe an unsupported programming language, there are third-party applications out there to let you do that. So just a couple terms here that I'm going to be using that just to be clear where they're referring to. Application is the root level object in Heroku. It's made up of one or more dynos, pipelines, databases, load balancers, etc. Basically, an application is what your user sees when they will go to the web address that you give them. All that stuff that I listed after that, that is all part of your application. Then what a dyno is that is Heroku's word for the container that actually runs your application. So it's your server. You can have one dyno, you can scale it up to many dynos. In our case, we'll probably just have one for now. Any questions on that so far?
Yeah, so just to be clear, is a dyno like Docker?
Kinda, yeah. It's a similar thing. It's a container.
Yeah, it's sort of, I hear a lot of comments these days about, people saying that all this Kubernetes and Docker infrastructure, it existed 10 years ago and it was called Heroku,
Yeah. Yeah, that's basically true for most small applications. Anything else? Okay, moving on. Okay, so let's get into it. So first step, if you haven't done so already, you should sign up for Heroku. So you can create an account by going here, https://signup.heroku.com.
Right.
Yeah. Has everybody been able to access their student pack?
And signed up for Heroku already. Did it last night.
Even if you don't have the student pack, you should still be able to use like the free dyno stuff, I think.
Yeah.
You can. It's just in order to attach an SSL cert to your Heroku instance, using their console, essentially, you have to. It's only available to paid dynos, which isn't a big deal. Just for the purposes of the demo, it'll be easier if you have a paid dyno. If not, you can just follow along.
Yeah, and I have to use a credit card, right?
Yes, you do have to use a credit card at one point because when we adding a credit card is how you transfer your Heroku account from like an unverified state to a verified state, and that'll be required to get the DNS record set up.
Okay, but are they they're not gonna charge?
They didn't charge
for
mine.
tonight?
They didn't use it to validate. Yeah, and they
Right.
didn't be there, and they said that it would take that, they weren't sure how long it would take to validate it. GitHub or whatever, what it would be.
It's quick.
They're like, they didn't credit me for the student stuff yet, but said that it wouldn't be like right away, depending on who was in line. They were, yeah.
I think everyone is signing up or has signed up.
Okay. Are we in anybody? I can give them a few more minutes.
Would that be for a school name?
Yeah, it's about conversion code. So like you all have a pack. So like if you have any issues with the pack, by the way, get in touch with Will. But yeah, just go create a code, and then if they ask you, like, I'm probably required to bootcamp, but I don't know if they will. Yeah, that's we've
You people.
I thought I did Heroku, it was actually Datadog. I fell asleep before I got Heroku.
Oh, had a dog.
It's another free thing in the GitHub store.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's for like monitoring the live things running live. I'm
Yeah.
getting all the statistics.
I was just signing up for everything.
Cool.
But yeah.
It's a pretty cool tool.
Okay. Yeah, but I'm signed up now.
Cool. Right.
How are we looking?
No. Is anyone having trouble or run into any stumbling block? Is anyone not finished yet?
I'm like in,
Okay.
not sure I'm like in the right place.
Alice, do you have the page you should see when you land on it as soon as you're done, as soon as you're in?
Yeah, I think it looks like, let's see. Go through.
Oh, yeah, purple across the screen.
Yeah.
Welcome to Heroku. Okay.
You should, if you click the thing on the upper right-hand corner, you should see your name. I have an application here, but you should see a message about, on the left-hand side, it'll say create an application. That'll be our next step here.
Is it gonna, it might, you might have to make that screen bigger on the right side.
Oh,
Maybe.
Maybe, are you done with the slides or we have?
We got more slides.
Okay.
What's that?
It's good, but it's sort of like showing both screens side by side, and it's only half of the screen, but it's big enough now, I think.
Okay, I can swap these back and forth too. That's easiest.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so good to move on?
I think so.
Okay. So next step, create your application. So after first signing in, you should see a button left-hand side of the screen says create a new app. So go ahead and click that. I can walk you through this doing the same thing. Basically, we just want to name our, oops. There we go. Follow this naming convention for now. Your initials dash careers and code dash Heroku. That's just to make sure that we don't hit any naming collisions, because these names do have to be unique.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm saying you should probably name it your dash careers and code dash
Heroku. Okay.
Yep, just like this. Then we can click create app. How are we looking? Everybody got their app created?
I think so.
Cool. Oh, sorry.
Nope, it's good.
Good. Okay. So next up, we got to install the Heroku CLI. This will let us interact with Heroku on our computers. So does everybody have Homebrew installed? I thought I heard at some point somebody mentioned Brew.
Your sound cut out for a little while, so.
Oh, sorry.
Just 20 seconds.
Did you hear the part about the Heroku CLI?
Yes, you said the next
Okay.
step is Heroku CLI.
Right. So Heroku CLI is a way that we can interact with Heroku from our terminal. So the first thing we have to do here, does everybody have Homebrew on their Macs?
Yeah.
Okay. So in that case, you can run this command here. Oops. Brew tab Heroku /brew _brew install Heroku.
Oh, can you post the slides in the channel and then also, I guess, that command in the channel?
I did post the slides. They are
Okay.
up there, and then this command is. All right. And once that runs, you're going to want to do Heroku login.
You should just do it from the next page for this year.
Probably.
All right. So once everybody's got that installed, we can go over these commands.
Alice,
Yeah.
after the installation, you want us to go to a terminal?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do we have to be in any specific folder, or will this be global? These commands?
It's global.
All right.
At least for now. We're going to clone in a few slides here. We're going to clone a sample project. And in that case, you will have to be inside the same directory as the sample project.
Okay.
But for this first command, you do not have to be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. How are we looking?
I think Homebrew had to update for a lot of us first, so it took longer.
Gotcha.
I went to type in my Heroku login and let's see, Heroku login. It said press any key to open up the browser. Oh, never mind. I read it wrong. I was about to type in a password, but I guess once I pressed any key, it just went to opening browser.
Yeah.
So it says Heroku waiting for login.
Right.
You have to go to your browser and log in. It opens the page.
It did? Okay. Oh, okay. And I saw that, but I navigated away from it. I thought I did something. I'm like, wait a minute, I am not typing that fast. Okay.
And then you can go back to your terminal and it works. It should say your.
It still says waiting for login. It says you can close this page. Okay, so let me close the page. And it says I should now be logged in. Still waiting for login. I didn't type in anything. I just, okay. It says JSON error. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so let me type this again. HEROKU. OGIN. Oops. Hold on. Hold on. Control C. All right. Just press yeah. Okay, and now hit login.
Made a time down and you went away from it at first and now go back to your.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. It might have, when you navigated away from the page, if you waited to see a second.
I just love warning. All right.
At least you know it's secure, nobody can just run. No, I knew what that was. No, when you said somehow like log in here, like how? Oh.
Yeah, so now that you've done that root command, you can type Heroku. Okay. Hey, Alice, do you have to run this second command from the careers and code sandbox or a Git folder?
The git remote.
Yeah.
Yes. I was kidding. We're not quite there yet. Hold up on that one.
Okay.
Sorry, I should have made that more clear. We're only up to Heroku login right now.
No, some people are ahead and getting at it. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yep.
Login is looking good. I think almost everybody has logged in.
Okay. So I've listed out a couple commands here just as a handy reference. Heroku login. You only need to run this the first time you download the CLI. I think, unless your login changes, it might make you re-authenticate again. This Heroku git remote -a. So the way Heroku works is by pushing to a Git repository on Heroku's server. And every time you do that, Heroku will take the latest copy of your code and run it on your dynos. So basically, this is just a shorthand command to add the proper remote URL to your Git repository. Heroku open -a, your app name, that will just, that's so you don't have to like memorize where your app is located. You can just type that out real quick and it will open up a web browser with your app in it. You can type Heroku psql -a to get a Postgres shell, kind of like how we were launching into our Docker containers a couple weeks back. This does require that you have Postgres installed locally, though, to work. If you don't have it installed, it won't run. We won't be using that today, though, so I wouldn't worry about installing Postgres locally. Just keep it in mind if you choose to do that. Let's see. So Heroku ps-a, check the status of the dynos on your app. So this is a handy way to see if something is running. PS is similar to the Linux PS. It's process scan. Gus, sorry. What did that stand for?
Process status, I think.
Process status. Thank you.
Yeah, there's Docker PS, there's Heroku PS, there's all kinds of PS. Yeah.
Yep. Here's a handy one, Heroku PS exec. So that will let you SSH into your application without needing to memorize that, or without needing to download a host or an SSH key or figure out what the IP address is or what the username is. You can just run that command if you want to hop into your server. This command here, Heroku ps scale web equals 1-a. So this is just a command that says we want to scale our application. Scale basically just means set the number of running dynos at a time. We want to create scale it to one website dyno, essentially. So this is just how you'd say, you don't know if that, maybe you don't know if the dyno is running or not. If you just want to make sure that one is, you can just run this command and it'll create a single dyno for you, for your application. Heroku log. Sorry?
A dyno is a Docker container.
It's a container.
It's a
Yeah.
kind of container, yeah.
Okay, so Heroku logs -a-tail. That will, if you run this command, it will continuously show logs from your dyno in the terminal, which will be handy if you're trying to you debugging like an API and you want to see want to do console.log on data that comes in. You can just run that and you'll see them come out in the terminal messages. Okay, so now we're to the fun part.
I'd like to try to join a different Wi-Fi network and see if it helps. We're getting some it's a little choppy.
Okay, sure thing.
What's the password?
I don't know. Let me type it in. It's confusing. It's Hacker Garden, but there's a bunch of annoying symbols. Yeah. Yeah, it's stupid. Yeah, internet connection is unstable. Let's see. If not, you can switch back to the desk if you want. If it's not doing it well. Alice, can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you.
All right, we just have to change the Wi-Fi network, so we'll see how this one is. Otherwise, we'll swap back again.
Sure.
All right, we're good. We're back. I mean, as long as hopefully it's just not choppy. So.
Okay. Do I sound any better?
I think so.
Good, good. Okay. So everybody's logged in, which is good. We're ready to deploy an application now. So first thing we got to do, let's clone this application here. Let's copy and paste this into Slack. Something that you should be aware of, don't copy this into the Careers in Code sandbox, copy it somewhere else.
So can we
clone, sorry.
Can we do CD tilde to get to like a home folder maybe first?
Yeah, that should work. I'll type that in front here. Oops. Okay. How are we looking?
Also, we got
Some. think everybody's got it.
Good to go? Okay. So next command you want to run, the Heroku get remote -a your app name. So that'd be the one we set up before.
Alice, can you blow up your terminal?
Yeah.
I'd say that like two or three times.
Actually, you know, we probably just cover this for the moment. How's that?
Good, folks. See that? A little bigger, maybe.
A little bigger? Whoa, that was not helpful.
Good, bad. One more.
One more?
Good. Don't hesitate to speak up if you can't see.
Yeah, for sure. One more.
Okay, great.
Okay. So everybody's got it cloned?
Yes.
CD'd into the repo. So now we can type Heroku get remote -a. So your initials, use code Heroku. So if it completes successfully, you should see this message. Well, not the Heroku update warning, but this one. And then finally, we can do git push Heroku. So this part here is important. So Heroku is, if you remember back to Git, a lot of times you git push like origin master. Origin is just the name, it's like the default name of your Git remote. So in this case, we're setting up a special Git remote, Heroku, which will let us push to the address that Heroku gives us to deploy our apps. So now we can say git push Heroku master. You'll see this console run, or see this output run. This is the message log that Heroku is giving as it's building your application and deploying it. If you have any errors, that you'll see them here. And here we go. Verifying deploy, done.
Cool.
So,
Just the commands for in the PowerPoint, I think you put the backticks around them because of like Markdown probably. They're throwing some people off. So just everyone, don't ever paste the backticks that are in those commands. Yeah.
Okay.
But okay.
I don't know, register backticks. Sorry about that. It would be nice if Google Slides had some way of formatting things as code, but I haven't been able to figure that out.
Oh, that's right, that's what I have. Okay, so I look back here, yeah.
So what did you did the well,
No, sorry.
okay.
So I actually took a first slide.
you're in the right place. You can go up to the last two.
How are things looking, Gus?
We're getting there, pretty close.
Cool. Take your time. Just let me know when I'm good to move on.
Oh, okay.
I think we're good.
Okay.
Good. Dan?
All right. So has everybody they've done the git push?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So last step, all we got to do, Heroku, open, and your application name. Oh. Oh, that's a little bit anticlimactic. Nice.
What was the, yeah.
With it. And then you want to-
Sorry.
This one. But those are your, you have to be your initials here.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And no, deltas.
No, none of this stuff.
Blank.
Yeah. None of the greater than less than.
Yeah, the greater than less than is just kind of shorthand to yeah, designate where a variable is, but it kind of only works as shorthand if you know it's shorthand.
Is this is your terminal prompt?
Yes.
It's 2 lines?
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet. I mean, like that's I've never seen one that elaborate. That's pretty cool.
I'm a big fan of it. Have you used Z Shell before?
Apparently I'm going to, right? Because Mac is going to switch from Bash to Z Shell, right?
Is it? I had no idea. That's pretty cool.
I think Bash went GPL v3 and they're now switching in the next version. So
Nice.
Mac won't have Bash anymore. Congratulations.
Honestly, I like C Shell better, so no loss on my end.
I'll have to try it out. Good? Yeah.
What was that last command we said?
The last one.
Yeah.
Heroku open, dash A.
Okay, Heroku open dash A, then our initials dash careers and code dash Heroku. Did that take you out of the terminal onto a web page? Oh, okay. Then. All right. Yeah. Okay, I'm there.
Cool. All right. So think we're good to move on unless anybody's stuck. Okay, so just a quick overview of what we've just done. We've taken our code. We've done nothing to it. We just cloned our repo. This would be the same process you had if you had a repo. It wouldn't be a very complicated app. Like we haven't done anything with our database yet. But if you just had like a static website, then we would just clone it. We'd set our remote to point to our Heroku application. We would push the repo and we would have an app. That took us 20 minutes. And that's just because it was the first time. If you'd been doing this for a while, that could have taken you 5 minutes, maybe even less. So you kind of see, like, instead of having to go through, log into AWS, set up an EC2 instance, make sure your SSH keys are correct, assigning a elastic IP to it, zipping up your code, sending it, SCPing it to the server. It's just this is just a good illustration of the importance of having good tooling. And that's really what Heroku's main value is. They give you really nice tooling to use.
Yeah, I think the problem for me is I think everyone's just mad at me now for putting them through the last 3 days.
Imagine how every sysadmin before Heroku came around felt.
Yeah.
Like, the tooling is just it's a magical thing. I love tooling. I would marry tooling if I could. All right. So, next step. Let's see how easy it is to add Postgres. So, let's go back to our Heroku console. And we'll just use these as a reference for later on. I can show you how to do it in Heroku here. As soon as I figure out which of my many browser windows has the right one. There we go. So we're going to start at our personal page. We're going to click on our application. We're going to go to here where it says installed add-ons and then go to configure add-ons. Inside this checkbox here. Oh, would it be helpful if I made this bigger?
Yes, please.
Oops.
Yeah. Jeez, Alice, get together.
Sorry.
I'm just kidding.
Blind people here.
Okay, how's this?
Wait, where did you
Cool.
start?
Resources.
Oh, sorry. So we start on our personal page. If you click,
From heroku.com.
yeah, you sign in, we'll get to your dashboard. Let's see. Then it shows this view.
How is it? I guess
This is the site you just installed.
Right.
You just gotta go back to heroku.com for now.
Just go back to heroku.com.
Yeah.
Now we're all talking about them. We haven't even.
Here, I'll paste the link in Slack.
Because you know stuff and we don't.
All these for icons.
Okay, so click on personal. Oh,
The
this
site
one.
name, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And then resources. Okay. Okay, I'm with you, Alice.
Cool. So now let's scroll down to add-ons. We're going to type Heroku Postgres and select it. All right. Do you ever get to this box here?
Yep.
No. Add-ons, Heroku Post. After you typed in Heroku Postgres, what did you do?
It should click it in the drop down.
I don't have a drop down.
Oh,
Oh, hold on, HERO. Oh, I see it now.
Very good.
All right.
So if you click that, you should get to this box.
Yep.
Cool. And make sure that hobby dev free is selected, otherwise you'll be charged. And then click provision.
Free is good, right? Free.
Free is good.
That's hobby free.
Hobby free.
Okay. So now that that's done, how do we use that? Well, Heroku makes it really easy. So remember, okay, so let's see. Let me see if I can find a version of chat room ORM real quick on my system. Don't mind this, I'll expand it when we get to what I'm looking for here.
Else we can't see anything.
Just give me a moment, half a moment.
Yeah.
I'm getting there.
What is that measured in? Half a moment.
Hours.
Hours, yeah, that's a
Yeah, it's come back in 30 minutes. I'll have it the right size finally. Okay. So, remember when we were setting up SQLize? You don't have to do this yet. This is just for example's sake.
The groaning in the room.
So when we were setting up SQLize before, we had to give our database, we had to give the configuration object the hostname of our database. And you might be thinking, well, how does Heroku get us our hostname? And it's really easy. Instead of having to type in the hostname, they put it in a handy environment variable for us. Have we covered environment variables at all?
Yesterday, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So in this case, they just throw in an environment variable called database URL. Process.env database URL. And that's it. That's all you need to do to connect your database on Postgres or on Heroku.
So how do we get to this point? Do you want us to be on this to actually type this in with you?
Not yet. We'll work through a little bit of type ORM, and then we can try it out.
Okay.
So if you want to just confirm that database URL environment variable exists, you can type Heroku config-a your application name.
Point to the line.
And we see our database URL. Oh, it's also hosted on Amazon. How about that? So really, we haven't gotten away from AWS at all. We just added a layer of abstraction on top of it, which is a life lesson. You cannot escape Amazon.
Nice, thank you.
That's quite the password there. This is the password.
Yeah.
Is that AMN or AMM?
Oh, that's AMM. That's my initials.
So
Oh, I have to put my
yours
initials.
will be yours.
Okay, that's why I couldn't get into it. Okay, hold on.
All right. So did everybody see their environment variable?
Looks like it.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay.
This is what you mean by environment variable. Okay.
So this is just a little bit more about that process we just went through. You can use Heroku PSQL-A, your app name. As long as you have Postgres installed locally, that'll give you a Postgres shell, so you could type out SQL by hand. Or if you want to use an ORM, you could do that. And you just got to remember to use some process.env.database URL in your connection object. Let's see, did I have anything after this? Okay, yeah, let's finish going through this first, and then we can look into connecting to the database. Okay, so similar to how we set up our domain names on Wednesday or Tuesday, one of those. We can do the same thing. So Heroku's a little bit different. Instead of just giving you the same URL target for every domain, it will generate a custom one based on the domain name you give it. So let's see what that looks like. So here I am. I'm back in my application settings. So we want to go to the settings tab. We want to scroll down until we find domains and certificates. And we want to click Add Domain. And I'm going to type in my domain name I bought yesterday. Oops. Oh, I'm using it with another app. Hold on, sorry. Give me 1 moment. Don't do this part. Don't delete your app yet. Okay. Not there.
Yeah. Oh, she's not gonna mess it up though, is she forever? Well, no. Yeah, that's not me, you got it back. I'll give it back, you know, I got it. I know that.
We like bartering over domain names.
Yeah. No, shit, Alice said, somebody said, yeah, that's yours. Okay, I love that, that's so.
I'll take a domain name for 50 cents.
You want a domain name?
Yeah, I got 50 cents.
You can attract students. Super real. That's not what you said, yeah, I really did. Okay. Right. I have chick this chick in every thing. Yeah, I'd rather not.
All right, so if you've added your domain name, you should see a row in this table underneath. You'll have domain name and then DNS target. So if you copy the DNS target here, you can paste it into another browser window. No such app. Oh, you know, I think it does some DNS stuff, so you'd have to access it from alice.zone to get it to show up. So we can do that here. Everybody log into your domain registrar, whether it's Namecheap or Hover or Hostinger, and you're going to want to create a new CNAME record or an alias, whichever one you have, and then paste your DNS target in there. So I'm going to sign into Namecheap off screen real quick, and then I can show you the process on that. Although I think we've covered that already, so if you want to go ahead and do that yourselves, you can do that too, but I can do it as a refresher.
So yesterday we created a www name as well as the A with the @ symbol, which that's must be an IP address, right? By the DNS setup. So
right,
an IP address for this?
No.
Okay, so maybe we just don't need the A one at all.
I don't think so, unless it requires you to. In which case, so to get around that, you can look for an alias.
Okay.
That's probably the one you should look for.
Okay, but it would be the same in both if there were two.
Right.
Okay.
So that's once I get logged in to Hostinger, I'm gonna make sure so he said log in to your domain name server.
Yeah.
There should be a settings page for the domain you bought.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's.
Also, wait, you have two, so you can get rid of one of the changes. So I would take a screenshot of that. Want to be able to set it back. Yes. So go to screens. Manage.
Okay. So here's Namecheap, for example. I selected Alice.zone. Go to Advanced DNS. Okay, I want to look at all our records. Add an alias record. Paste that in. Post we can just leave blank. It'll default to @ I believe. Yep. Okay. Guess in just line.
Yes. String that generates, and then you put it in here. And you press on the settings.
Okay. Oh, give me a moment. Oh, that's fine. This alias record can drop down. Okay, just leave that one. Okay. So it looks like if you try it at Namecheap, at least, if you try to clear out all the previous C names and A records that were there, it will add them back in automatically. So just delete any records that have the @ sign, but leave the www one, and that seems it'll be okay.
I think we only need the www really. The @ sign is just for the top left, the whatever it's called, the root or whatever, right?
Yes, but I think if we don't have the www, let's see, I can give this a shot real quick. Oops.
Well, that's conflicting.
Trying to get into my finger account. Cooperating.
Oh no, it's really broken.
Yeah, so it goes. No, it's connected to my Gmail account and it's saying waiting for cPanel posting your stuff. But try by
What cPanel? PHP or something.
Okay.
They've been around a while.
Okay, I'm in. Yeah. So now it's one.
Okay.
So just like take a screenshot.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine. And then here, instead of the URL redirect,
Okay.
Let's talk about pizzas making me hungry.
Okay. This one. So it looks like we're going to have to add the www subdomain in our Heroku console as well, or console as well. So not just alice.zone, but we'd also need www.alice.zone.
Oh. So
And then this is,
so you copy one of those into the @ record and the other one into the www record?
yes.
Okay, cool.
So I'm thinking this is where you want me to be.
So these.
There we go.
So here, A record. Now, a lot of this stuff is, so you have it set up right now to go to anything now? Do you want to use Heroku or Amazon rather than hosting your hosting? I mean, I think it's probably a good idea in general.
Right. So they would just be like my domain, my DNS.
They would just, yeah, they would
Yeah.
just be your
Yeah,
DNS.
I do want to redirect to.
Okay. So you want to go to Heroku. Did you generate that link or that text for your site in Heroku? In Heroku's website.
Okay. So here is.
Okay, cool. So try that and save changes. Gotta add your credit card.
Oh, I already have with hosting here, but not with Heroku. I'm not gonna create one.
I think it might be just for like identity verification
Okay.
purposes. I don't know if they are.
Alice, they're not going to charge your credit card for doing this, right?
No, they won't. The only issue will come up if you try to upgrade to pay Dinos for SSL.
Okay.
This part should be free.
Okay.
They just need you to verify it. Like another, if you unverified Dinos only get 550 hours a month of free Dino use, but verified accounts get 1,000.
Oh.
So
I put in the wrong name.
So SSL Dinos are not free.
Right.
But if you do all that nonsense wonkering around with the Nginx and Amazon, you can totally get away for free for a year, but only
Yes.
a year, and then you get, this could be free forever if you're not on SSL, right?
Right. And I think you could also, if you really wanted to, go ahead and install Nginx on Dinos. You'd probably want to write a script to do it because I think it'll get wiped out every time a new Dino is created. So if like part of your build set would be install Nginx, configure it to act as a reverse proxy, and then
do
generate SSL there.
And everything.
Sorry?
And then use certbot or whatever it is to.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Get around the paid.
Yeah.
No,
Like anything can be free as long as you're willing to configure it yourself. All right, how are we looking, folks?
There. something I copied, now I'm doing something. Oh, that is.
So, where's your login? Is it your, like, how you edit this? Probably press that.
There is a network.
No, but, are you waiting on people else?
Yeah. I was just gonna see where everybody's at, make sure they were able to update their DNS and see their application at that domain name.
60 to 75% through with everyone.
Very good.
There's
If
different providers and stuff. Yeah.
if we want to like break till 7:10, 20 minutes, everybody can take a quick break, work on getting stuff set up. Does that sound good?
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. I'll be back at 7:10.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's is there a domain, someone might have a domain name?
Things going okay. I was just thinking, I said, we've been pulling out our credit cards a lot for this section.
Yeah.
Not that we've had to pay for anything. You know, they want your credit card to share.
Just hoping everybody doesn't charge it all at the same time.
Yeah.
How's your day work going?
My job,
Yeah.
I don't work here anymore.
Oh, you don't? Oh, I didn't do that. Okay.
Well, just, well, yeah, I was 2 months to just doing the capstone, and the work here, and, I actually have some interviews lined up for internships.
Oh, nice.
One is unpaid, it's for the Syracuse poster project.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I'm talking with Jim Emmons next week, and I have another one lined up at an ad agency, Galaxy Media.
Oh, nice. Good luck.
My daughter has an internship right now at Digital High.
Oh, no way.
She
That's
loves
exciting.
it. She loves it. She said that they have her organizing files, and they're about to start helping them with the websites that they
That's
need.
awesome. Oh, wow. They seem like they're really, I always see them in the news that they're really growing.
Digital High works with everyone. I'm like, oh my gosh. I said, can you tell them about your mother? Can you tell them that I told you everything?
That's cool. Look at you. I know when I first met you, you said that you were doing it to show your girls that it's possible.
Right, exactly,
She's doing it.
exactly. And she is already doing it. She loves that.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
she's,
great.
yeah, she's
Great
done
girl.
that. So she works Monday through Wednesday.
Yeah.
From 8:30 to 5. And, the first couple of days getting used to everything, onboarding. She was kind of quiet about it. So last night she called me about something and she says, hey, Mom, do you want to know what I'm doing with my internship? I was like, yes, tell me everything. And she just went on and on. I was just smiling from ear to ear. I'm like, wow. I never had the opportunity to have an internship when I was in college.
Yeah.
I was trying to make up for that.
Yeah.
I'm so glad she's.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she's what we've been working for. So,
Yeah, that's cool. Oh, that's exciting for her. And then,
but the ad agency,
yeah, they're probably
it's
getting.
election season, they need to.
Okay.
I don't know where they've been advertising, but the guy that I was talking to today, I forget what his name is. And I was like, I told him what I was doing. And
Oh,
he
yeah,
was-
absolutely.
Because I'm actually helping someone with campaign. I just did like a post for her. So I was telling her, I said, Galaxy Media actually does an excellent job. They have like a whole digital media self-promotion type package, that covers a lot of different areas. That they did a presentation up at OCC, which was excellent. So I told the girl that I'm working with, I said, we should set up a meeting with them so that they can help you with your online and social media presence. So when I was on the phone with him, I said, so now that we've done that, I said, let me tell you about me. And I told him I'm a tourism coach student. I'm looking to get more experience. He said, he helped. He said, yeah, he's gonna send you an email and we can get an interview set up.
Yeah. Nice.
Just like that.
Yeah. That's cool. And that was with the
Galaxy Media.
Galaxy Media.
I keep saying digital media.
Yeah,
Galaxy Media.
That's cool. That's exciting.
But Digital Hive is looking for help too. All of these competitions, they're doing a lot of work at that agency.
Yeah. That's cool. You're a good promoter. You never got back to me about the one message I sent you to the.
I'm gonna have to look through. There's so much
Okay.
stuff that comes through.
Yeah.
Sarah.
It's okay.
Stuff comes in my brain and then it leaves it.
Yeah.
And then it has to fight for attention with what I'm doing for the kids during the day.
Yeah.
It's like I can't. So thank you for reminding me.
Oh, yeah.
Send me a, because I don't know if I'll be able to find it. Just send me another
Okay. Sure. Yeah. Probably.
message.
Yeah. I need
So
your
messy.
promotion skills, Dana.
Promotion. I have to laugh at myself because I'm like, am I being improper just by, I'm plugging people, but I'm also plugging myself? No one's kicked me out of the room yet.
Yeah. You're helping them. And
So you able to log in?
I got to this part right here.
Oh, cool.
Yep. And so I don't know what to do once I get here.
To copy that thing.
I'm sorry for being messy. I didn't realize that the granola bar was going to be this messy. Okay, so.
One of these crackly nature's out.
And I normally don't even do the dark chocolate. I just usually do the one that has the honey in it. Okay, so it's coffee.
Yep. So can you get to your
Host number?
your host? Yeah. Now, how do we get to edit this?
I'm not really sure. I am in uncharted territory.
Hey, well, I don't know, because, well, my daughter's enjoying her trip. I want to go.
Sure. A lot of this is
A
work
couple of
hosting or like
family
vision
Yeah,
magic stuff.
it is. Email from Delicious.
Okay, so
So
maybe,
now I'm like,
maybe it's okay to leave the mail ones alone in your emails.
Okay.
These ones are separated.
oh my gosh, I had the worst weekend.
Yeah, you've got. How's your daughter doing?
She's at the ball.
Yeah.
They're going all over the place.
Yeah.
So we really only need to remove www and app.
Thanks. How are things going with you?
And this stuff I do not.
Well, I don't know if you read in the Slack.
I'm not gonna touch it.
This is just a subdomain. You can get rid of that.
We're
I
using it.
really have a breakdown.
I was playing around and, yeah. I haven't done anything on this stuff.
That's your file upload, like that. You wanna, it's fine to leave it for, as long as we can change the,
It's horrible.
the www app to.
However.
So the, sorry, go back to 1 second, see what we just copied.
Oh, no. Yeah.
So it's the one without the www, so that one, get the, go through the videos afterward, and then.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I make all these little versions.
whiting out all steps.
And then we're gonna,
And I just really rely on one road.
yeah, and add another.
And this gives me connections, like a
I was gonna have to.
This makes, well, no, this makes hostasian.com point to the server you're setting up on. So you
Oh, yeah, that's very
www.hostasian.com, generally you want both of them.
I was so mad, my husband's looking at the door, like, before I would have access to it. He said, well, you should
And then there
Well,
will be
I live
different
there.
ones.
Usually I sleep there, so I wouldn't notice, but my husband fell and didn't want me and the dogs in there.
So one is the domain name and the other one is the web hosting.
They're both, how far is that? One is sort of, just sort of top level domain without any prefix, and one is the standard.
Right, well, then
with
this
the name
gave up.
So we're just gonna rewrite both of them to go to the same.
It's so weird sometimes.
Yeah, so now add another.
Yeah, it was just, when I was like,
And the name should be www. And it's a C name because of just, that's how it works, what heroku gives you. And then you basically, nice to say what C name and day and everything. That's really.
Always, it's, I feel weird even checking because you guys are like farther along than I am. I'll start with C.
yeah. No, it's okay, like I said, I felt very treated.
So you need a.
But,
Yes, I brought my cord.
Say you old man.
no, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so now, did you do all the steps for the heroku stuff?
Well, everything that Alice showed us up to.
So get out and go to.
Probably will see heroku.
So.
Okay.
Steps.
You can probably scrounge one if you need it.
Okay, let me just, I call myself organized and when it's night, and probably forgot to put.
Okay, so I fixed it.
Here it is.
You're able to.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's going.
Yeah, busy. Yeah, you ready to switch to something else still?
Yeah, I mean, there are days when I like it, there are days when I don't. Not next week, but the week after, I'm on a morning. shift.
Oh.
How that goes.
Okay, what time does your shift start?
3 a.m.
Oh my
What time does your shift usually start?
I don't start until 8, so like since November, so I worked the night shift forever, 45 to 11. So I get off morning and night out.
Yeah.
Then I switched to Bridge Street, which is 8 to 5, so it works with this.
Yeah.
And then, because there's so many people that actually left, and someone's on vacation that week, and they moved me.
Oh,
Because I
okay.
can't do the night shift, so I have to do the morning shift.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's,
So I'll be out at 12:30, but I'm not gonna know when to sleep.
sure. Oh, you might have to get out though.
Yeah, I probably get
That's terrible. How long are you on that shift for?
just,
Oh, that's.
so it won't be too bad. It'll be just enough to where like I'll at least wake up every day. Because they did this a couple of years ago, just so everybody was familiar with the other shift.
Yeah.
So it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
You can get home from here like 9-ish, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll be right to bed.
What time you gotta wake up, like 1 or 2?
I actually live like 2 miles from the station,
Okay.
so I could probably just roll outside and go, which is gonna be my plan.
Yeah, I'm sure at 3 o'clock you'll must see how anybody looks.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah, I'll get through it.
Yeah.
And then after that, we'll be gearing up for the fair.
Yeah, I'm sure I remember you saying that, but that week will be crazy.
Yeah. They're still unsure of what schedule will be, but I'm sure I'll be there for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's nice because it's different. You know, the fair is always changing and you're outside.
Yeah, actually, maybe like,
meet some unique people.
yeah. Yeah, I was asking, you don't like work, like, what do you do specifically there? I know you're like producer, but usually you're not on camera, you're kind of like.
I used to be in production, which would be studio production,
Okay.
so it would be the studio cameras, running like their audio board, switching the show, which is kind of like live editing the show, and then I would direct the shows too. And then now I kind of do a little bit of both, so I'm producing, writing stuff, and then in the afternoons I kind of. Interesting.
Yeah, not boring, I'm sure.
It has its days. Sometimes you're just like, ah, this is.
No, we don't. Yeah. So seeing the app that you're, the project that you're working on.
I'm hoping everything works out.
Yeah. And I was meaning to mention it though. I don't know if you guys are doing the open hack again. Did you guys do open hack last week? You guys just in class?
No, we just did.
Okay. Are you going to look at that or anything? This or that?
I don't know. I was looking at it. I might.
I was gonna just encourage people, like, whenever you're like, if people ask, hey, what are you guys working on? What are you doing this session? Let's be like, hey, you're not working. So this match dog.
I just want people to be like, yeah, that's great. Let me see it. I'm like,
No, I think it's just like, it's not my idea. Like, a lot of it like happen. You put yourself out to like, this is what I'm working on. Just, I meant to say last year, it's not working with apps.
yeah.
Just how that I know that say when you want this project, just like just see you've done, blurry it's cool, it's a really cool. Everything I mentioned, not that I mentioned a lot, but people I know are kind of people I've mentioned.
Yeah, I hope it works.
Yeah, different companies do this and all. Like I said, just kind of like names.
Yeah, just start like actually talking about it.
Exactly, like he's I don't want you were in for maybe you're like 25 hours just so very comfortable talking great world for the I don't know if they do it this is what I'm working on. This is the languages using to get that familiarity. No, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Jason, right? Sharp, that's right. Yeah. Last name. Yep. How's it going? It's okay. You're TA today? I am the student success coordinator. Right. Check in. Yeah, so not a TA. Just kind of check in if the students have issues. Yeah. So I'm trying to learn it. So I try not to bug you because all of the students, especially usually TA. I know that it's funny. Doing the round. Yeah. So no, I guess if you don't mind taking a quick second, I'm like aligned on here, so I'm trying to. So yeah, I'm probably doing the wrong stuff because I try not to.
Oh, you're trying to do all the stuff in the slides.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Because I missed. I was talking to Jesse.
The PSQL one only works if you install Postgres on the actual. So I don't know what that is.
Okay.
Are you installing Postgres?
I was trying to install Postgres.
If you do, this should start working. But we didn't
Okay.
do that at all today. The only thing we did was, so you see your Heroku site? When you ran that?
Yeah, let's just.
Oh, cool. Okay, so if you go back to your Heroku console, we were adding the database to it, just right from here. So it's right there.
Okay. Yeah, I missed a few steps.
Resources and the database. Type in Postgres here.
Okay.
There's a Heroku Postgres right there. You go.
Missed that part. Okay. next thing was to check that the environment variable is set, something like that.
Hey, Alice.
Probably not there.
Hello.
Hello. I'm helping Jason get all the same stuff. After we added the resource that was Postgres, we immediately checked that the environment variable was there, right? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. So that, do you have the slides?
I think I posted the command in the.
Oh, the command might be.
Yeah, it's the. Oh, nope, I did not. That's my bad. Let me type that out real quick.
Okay, so we just did that. And then log into so this is now when you could use the rest. Okay. So you could try running that again. Okay. Yeah, so now you definitely have to install Postgres. But we didn't do this in class, so if you want to say. Oh, okay. Another thing, look up PowerShell. Yeah. It's sort of like this, but it's blue, and you can do all kinds of crazy stuff that you can. It's like really legit. Okay. If you're on Windows, you might as well take advantage of it. Okay. This thing's very scary powerful. It does a lot of stuff.
I have 2 messages from Hostinger that DNS record created.
Oh,
So
cool.
that's a good thing, I guess, right?
Yeah. And did you go to the site?
I did. I went to clean the chocolate off of off of everything I've been cleaning since you left me. Yeah.
It's probably up.
Okay, so go to hosthacienda.com.
Yep. That's it.
Oh, wow.
Try www.hosthacienda. Cool. So
And it's saying it's not secure, so I guess the only other thing I need to do is get it connected to the SSL.
Yeah, so what I was asking her is that Heroku charges to do that magically for you. So you can pay them to do it just magically. But Alice was saying we could also probably set up the same thing we did with Nginx yesterday. Did you see that yesterday yet?
I saw it, but yeah.
There's part of it was install something that's like a pre-server. Oh, they drew this little diagram.
Well, just let me make sure that I'm clear about my question though, because I have already purchased. I already have an HTTPS
certificate.
So right, I already have one. It's just that.
So you need to configure your server to use that.
Right, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, and I mean you don't really need to purchase those if you're going to configure it yourself anyway. But you already have one.
Right, I already have one. Okay. So all I need to do is just configure it, and then I know that we talked about that in a previous lesson. I think Max went over that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
but he went over it for like front ends and JavaScript pages. If this is for your API and your backend, it's a little different. Honestly, it's harder than any of the other ways if you already have the certificate.
Okay.
It's the hardest way. I can definitely help do that, but yeah. Do you know what you want to be like? Have you thought much about like where you want to put your capstone for hosting? Like probably I think good options are Heroku or Amazon.
So I have 2 domains with the package that I purchased.
Yeah.
The main one is Tech Overlay, and then Host Hacienda. I wasn't really sure what to do about that, but what I was thinking was Host Hacienda would be the place where if I'm working on websites or databases or something like that for other people, that's where I would put them in the creating subdomains. And then tech overlay would be for, that would be like my own, that's where I would put my capstone. I want to do my capstone, my resume and all that
But
stuff.
do you know what provider you want to use? Like we've set up a server on Amazon EC2 and then connected that to one of these websites. And now we're also setting up a Heroku app and connecting it. And then there's other options. There's
So you mean the provider for my,
the thing that sits, the thing that's going to be behind the hosting.
right?
Not just, it's going to be the database, but also the application that you hook up with that hosting. Because when we make those records, we're saying, go to Heroku. You know, this site is located on Heroku, or this site is located on Amazon. And basically like that, I think we can figure out how to use the certificate you have in either one, or set up a free certificate in either one.
I think I'm just confused about what the relationship would be between Hostinger and Heroku because, okay, so with Hostinger, I purchased my domain, my hosting, and it also gives me the ability to create databases.
Yeah.
So now
You could do everything on there.
I could do everything on that. So Heroku, I thought was just going to be where I would create my databases to integrate it with everything else. But you're saying everything is on Heroku?
It's going to be a little harder to. I mean, it's complicated because if you could easily make just your database on Heroku. But if you do that, then you're going to have to connect to the Heroku database from outside the Heroku database. I'm not sure if that's like if you're curious about Heroku stuff, definitely go talk to Alice about it because or Brian knows a lot about it. I'm not super familiar with it.
So this is what I'm thinking. Maybe I should just do a free domain and connect it with Heroku and then leave all my Hostinger stuff separate.
A new domain?
Yeah, just a
I
different.
don't know if there's any domain that's free, but you can get the one from the student pack that's you get free for a year.
Right. That's what I mean.
Sure.
So because I don't want this to be more difficult than it needs to be.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. It's tricky to say like what's more difficult than what. It's all pretty difficult. There's a lot of difficult. But Heroku is if you say you're going to do everything on Heroku, it does make a lot of things a lot easier. That's the whole point is that they include a lot of the complexities that you need to normally set up yourself or deal with some quirky kind of like website that's like hosting or it's cPanel. cPanel is very it's sort of what a lot of people use for Heroku and probably partly what Alice was talking about. She says it was what people didn't like and were happy to get a Heroku.
So Heroku is the web host part.
Heroku is like everything batteries.
Everything except the domain.
Except the domain name.
Right.
I'm not sure if Alice, do you know if is Heroku a domain registrar too?
I don't think so.
Okay, so they're like everything but the domain name,
Right.
and they do the certificate. They can do the certificate for you, but they basically are everything else.
So,
Sorry, if I can just finish. Can I just put my Hostinger stuff back the way that it was, and then I want to do a different domain to connect to Heroku?
Sure.
A different domain.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right, and then
Yeah.
and then when you're done with her, you can come back and help me put my host hacienda back the way that it was.
I don't remember the way that it was.
Okay.
I should have taken a screenshot.
Tell me that.
Not going to be impossible.
I'll figure it out.
Not going to be impossible.
Yeah, I have tech support.
Sorry, did anybody go let in Kelly and them?
I can let them in.
Okay, thank you.
What page, Alice, what page is the domain of domains and certificates?
That is on settings. So up here.
They're back, Alice.
Okay, good. Okay, ready to get back into it then?
I think almost everyone's back. Where's Luke?
Kelly stopped in the bathroom. I don't know where. Maybe Elizabeth is well. I know Kelly's sure.
Okay, I'll give them a few more minutes.
Thanks, Alex. Sorry.
Yep, no problem. It's okay. I'm sorry I didn't see your message earlier.
That's I found where it needs to go.
Okay. So,
It's pretty much the same thing, the clcp.hostgator.com. I'm just pointing it back to that.
Okay. It's still www, still.
Because this one is still saving, I have to wait.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you're gonna need to get another host name, or you can just run it on the Heroku app and skip this part. You don't care that it has your domain name, it'll run fine on your app.heroku app.
Oh, all right,
Yeah.
that sounds good.
A lot of people, I mean, like Ryan, even the hackups or maybe not hackups, but the Syracuse.io, the community, there's like a community Slack, Syracuse.io, their login invitation is like a Heroku URL. I think it is.
I think you're right, it is.
Something
Yeah.
Heroku. Yeah. That's because they're like, we don't care about domain name at all, like it's still a link. Usually domain name is for branding, for ease of use. So.
And see, I like that. I like the whole branding thing. So I think what I want to do is do the domain name and connect it to the Heroku.
Okay, Alice, are you sure you need the www in Heroku?
Yes. At least when I tried it before, it did not load my dyno correctly.
Okay.
Is it working for somebody else?
Oh, you mean it said there's nothing here?
Yes.
So it did go to, okay, so it's not quite working. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, it would go to, it would know to look for Heroku, but it wouldn't like load my application.
Okay.
All right, how are we looking? Everybody back?
Yep.
Cool. Okay, good to move on.
Yeah, I know. Exactly.
See it when you reload on a website, you see that. Okay, so we might have it backwards.
Oh, yeah. We do, thank you.
All right. So how's everybody feeling?
We're just about there.
Cool. Need a few more minutes then?
I'm helping some people, but I think almost everyone you see the rope, right? Big purple banner. Okay, getting there. All right. Yeah, I think we're doing good. You're getting a domain.
I'm just pointing my stuff back to Hostinger, and I'll start on the domain.
Cool. All right, so I kind of want to open it up to everybody. How are you feeling about the Heroku process that I've shown you so far? Any questions on it? Anything that doesn't make a lot of sense to you? Cool. All right, good.
I mean, it seems a lot easier, more straightforward than what, why would be a lot of things trying to go through. So he says it'll take 4 to 5 hours for propagation.
Yeah, probably. It may show up sooner than that, in America, wherever. We try to test that detail, and they'll be coming.
All right. So that's basically all there is to deploying something to Heroku. Well, I say that's all there is. That's all there is to doing a basic deployment to Heroku. There's a lot more you can dig into with. I have some resources in the back of the slide set if you want to look them over. So real quick before we wrap this part up, so I go forward. So make sure that when you deploy an app, wherever the top of your project file is, that's where your Git directory is. So like the Careers in Code sandbox, for example, there's when you first clone it, you open it up and there's a big directory structure with everybody's folders in there. And that's not ideal for Heroku because Heroku needs to look for a specific, it looks for the package.json, for example. And if it can't find that, it doesn't really know what to do. Or if there's multiple of those, it doesn't really know what to do. So deploying everybody's projects to Heroku is not ideal. So if you're going to save your code to the Careers in Code sandbox, I would say that's fine. Just make sure that when you're going to deploy it to Heroku, you've moved it to its own directory with its own Git instance. So I've basically, for example, if you want to deploy chatroom RM, you'd have to copy it outside the sandbox, run Git in it to make sure that it's a Git directory now. I don't think chatroom RM is by default like a Git directory. I could be wrong. If it is, then that's fine.
No, it's not.
It's not. Okay. So yeah, you'll have to run Git in it. Remember, you can set up your Heroku Git remote. Just push all your code in the initial commit, and then you can deploy to Heroku. And then that'll get you all set should be back up to where state is.
But this will not put the code on GitHub. This will only put the code on Heroku. So you might want a whole new GitHub repo to start to have your code on if you're going to develop it on GitHub and do Heroku. You're going to need both. Now you can add this to GitHub backwardsly, right? After you add it to Heroku if you want.
Right.
Yeah. That's getting fancy.
Yep. Oops. Okay, so we've went over this already. SSL managed by Heroku requires the use of a paid Dino plan. But if you apply your Heroku student credit, then you can, at least you won't have to pay for those paid Dinos. Yeah, we can also try and run an Nginx reverse proxy. Also, you can test your applications locally. So if you don't want to spend Dino hours just running an app so you can see that it runs okay, you can use the local command in Postgres. So we can just try that out with our development or test app here. So we can, instead of doing like Heroku push or git push to deploy it, we can say Heroku local web. All this web means is that's the kind of container that Heroku will give you. There's different kinds. Web is just the most common one that you'll probably be using. Oh, you have to install our packages.
We're going to have to do this and then check them in or push them to Heroku too. Is that right?
No. So if you look at our git ignore, it will ignore node modules, and then Heroku, as part of its build process, will pull them down again.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's really nice. Because the node modules folders, you all know, can get gigantic.
Yeah.
So we can run this again. So we can say, oh, listening on 5,000. Go to here. Post 5,000. And there we go. This is running locally on our machine. And the advantage to doing this versus, say, just running node server.js is this is running the exact same way Heroku would try and run it. So ideally, when you're developing things, you want to make your development environment match your production environment as much as possible. So this is a really handy tool to use. All right.
Does this include the database? Does this have Postgres?
No, you would have to set up Postgres locally.
Okay.
Yes.
So you still connect to it, a local Postgres rather than, right, got it.
Yep. You can still use the same, I think you can still use the same link. You might just have to, actually, don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure, honestly. Mostly I've always done my development with a local database.
Okay.
All right. So, got about an hour left. Let's try and start our own Heroku app. And by start our own Heroku app, I mean we're going to take chat room ORM and put in a Heroku container, Heroku application. So, sorry?
I just heard chat room in a Heroku. Is that right?
Oh, so we're going to try and move our chat room-ORM, take the existing application, and we're going to put it on Heroku. So this will be a similar process that you would have. So you could take your code that you have for your capstone and put it on Heroku if you wanted to. All right, so first things first, we got to copy chat room ORM out of Cruising Code Sandbox. So go wherever that is. Mine is in projects. Cruising Code Sandbox. Gus, do you have the your type ORM version, or
So I'm working on the type ORM substitution where it's like using that. Type ORM has some of its own conventions. I'm trying to make it extremely similar to the existing project. It's not stable right now. It's just on my laptop. So
okay, we can use the stabilized one then.
It'll just be broken for another day, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. We can look at how to look at the logs when it breaks. So we're going to CP. Yes. Oh, sorry. Got to do -R for recursive. Okay. Cool. So we have our chat room ORM outside of our Cruising Code Sandbox. We have to do git init. We set it up as a new Git directory. So we say git status. We want to create a git ignore file because it doesn't do that for us by default. Let's use nano. All right, and so we want to do node modules /star. All right. So that's node module /star. Is anybody following along that they want me to slow down a bit?
Yeah, I'm a little.
All right, I'm gonna make a.
Sure.
Let me go back to that.
Did you, Alice? Did you just get init right in the folder where you are?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So there's like a nested inception of Git project.
Oh, sorry. I copied it out of chat room RM first.
Okay.
Or sorry, copied it out of the sandbox first.
Oh, is that CP?
Yeah, yeah. So it was the first thing I did was I was in Careers and Code Sandbox, then I ran this command.
Oh, that's the one.
So you can change this last part here to wherever you normally put your projects. That's just where I put my projects.
So we need to find the chat room or PWD. Do you know where's the sandbox? Where's the sandbox? Okay, so do see space. Alice is like, what's your PWD is like where?
Yeah, so now that's fine.
VS Code. This is your home. Utilities. That's the one we just downloaded today. Okay. All right. I think starting in the terminal and not in VS Code has thrown a lot of people off.
Okay, sorry. I can switch to VS Code then if you would like.
I might help with lunch.
Oh,
Sure thing. Okay.
so here are listed.
All right. I'm going to make my screen bigger. I'm going to open a folder. So I'm starting in my home directory here. My careers and code folders and projects. I'm going to go to projects. I'm going to open up the careers and code sandbox. Hit OK. So I get my terminal. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to remove the project folders. Oops. So starting over, we're in Careers and Code Sandbox. We want CP-R. The -R stands for recursive. That just means when you add a folder as the first argument to copy, it will also copy anything that's inside the folder with it. So we can do best cost, chat room, ORM. Then we want to copy it to our projects directory or my projects directory. You can replace projects with desktop, documents, anything you want necessarily, as long as it's not a Git repo, should be fine. All right. Now we want to CD into projects, cat room, RM.
Oh, you already have chat room RM. Cool. All right. So probably CD back into the chat room RM.
So just waiting for the next thing.
Yeah, the next thing is going to be get the net into the chat room RM folder that you put.
I'm going to open up the new VS Code window.
And then chat room RM. I might have to go out of this folder before this copy. So do PWD. So do CD space // two folders up. And then PWD again. So we should be able to run that now. Find that folder. And then you probably need /capital desktop. And you can probably put /chat room RM. And then you do CD, and then just to that last part, you'll go to that folder. No, good. /desktop. Oh, and then probably CD to the chat room. You can do them all together, like change the folders. Okay, now you can get it.
Okay, so. Did get in there.
Yeah, you can do it now, but you don't have to. You have this is a folder that moved.
Yep.
Right.
Thanks, guys.
It's okay to just push on.
Okay.
A couple people are gonna just rewatch, or we've reached saturation, I think. It's okay.
Gotcha. No problem. Thankfully, there's not a whole lot to this part, so I can finish up pretty quick here, and then maybe we can call it early, or we can talk about other capstone stuff or whatever you want. We got some time. So there's only really a few steps left here to get this working on in Heroku. The first thing is we have to set in our package.json, we need to set a property called engine. And what this does is going to tell Heroku which version of Node we want to run our app with. So in this case, we're going to go with Node and then 12.x. In parentheses, there's quotes. All right, and now I'm going to save this. Gonna commit it.
Yeah.
So let's see. I don't know if this next step is necessary 100%. Let's see if we can just do it without the step. So let's give this a try. Let's try and run it locally. Go through local. Nope. Sequelize. Ah, yes. Okay. Did not like that sequelize was hanging out.
Just comment out sequelize and send it back to hello world.
Yep. Oh no. But this is probably
Yes, just see. So, Alice, you would
Yep.
to open it, the new folder in VS before it finished, before doing the git ignore step. And VS Code just says, there's too many changes. Would you like to add the node modules folder to git ignore? And all you have to click yes.
Huh.
That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. I also really love VS Code. I used to use Atom, and then VS Code came around, and I was like, oh yeah, this is just way better.
Do you have a Vim plugin?
I do have a Vim plugin.
Nice.
I mean, I spent all that time learning Vim. I'm just going to get the most I can out of it. Okay. That's real easy. One.
Okay. So I have the free one set up, and when I went to it, it gave me that. So, so now I just need to figure out how to change the thing.
Sure, yeah. So if you go to name sheet, you can go to domains. No, just domains.
Alex, what,
Yeah.
what are you doing? For a little while.
I'm just removing sequelize so we can run the application.
Yeah,
So we're getting rid of SQLite so we can run the app.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Okay.
worry about, like, this is only if you want the app to not crash when you go to it for the sake of the demo. Like, if you're okay with it just crashing for today, you don't have to edit this. But yeah, we're gonna have a new version of this app that has the type ORM and doesn't break all the time. Probably either tonight or tomorrow. You'll see that. I'll post in the channel.
So I'm in domains. I probably need to click on manage, right?
Yes. And then there's
Take care of that.
yeah. Right to it.
Yeah, for sure. Don't crash.
And there's
So we
right there. And
So you can get rid of all of those. One of them was added at least to point to the GitHub. One of the,
Okay.
maybe two of those are GitHub.
okay, so we're gonna delete that. Get rid of that.
Okay. Server's running.
Get rid of that.
So we should be a little localhost 5000. Okay, that's the other thing I was worried about. We might have to change a port here.
Go to heroku and you're gonna copy the things you already made in the heroku. It's in the settings for your accuracy. Scroll down.
There we go.
So this one goes in the W.
Oh, it's just, this is just because it's the API. So we can open up Postman.
So why are you using 5,000 as the port?
So by default, Heroku local listens on 5,000.
Okay,
So we can change that. Let's see.
but when you deploy it to the real internet, do you tell it to look to 5,000?
That's a great question.
No, he told me.
It just,
I can't remember.
maybe that's how it just works by configuring, by convention.
That's entirely possible. Let's see. Heroku default port is
This should be C-main. Leave that. That's good. Paste. Is this the www? This is just the regular. So check. And then copy the other one and paste it here. You don't have to change it.
okay. So what you would want to do for remote, you want to do process.env port.
Okay.
So that means Postgres or Heroku will give us the port we're going to listen to.
And we probably need to just give this a few minutes for the DNS
It might be
servers to
immediate.
update.
It might be immediate.
Okay.
But yeah, you should see the Heroku page.
Let's see.
Again, you could do a hard refresh.
I mean, unless I was telling the browser to cache it.
What is this one?
That's it tells the computers or somewhere along the way it tells a computer to keep that as valid for 30 minutes. So when you do a refresh, I think it does
All right.
back again. But if you're like redirecting and making AJAX calls, JavaScript AJAX calls and stuff, I don't think it looks at the DNS address every single time.
So Alice,
Because
go back
this thing tells
for
it
app
to instruct it
listing,
to
just
say,
change it to
this is
5,000.
good for 30.
Okay.
Yeah, change it to 5,000.
I'll give it a minute. I mean, it did ask me when I got done if I wanted it to connect to or create a GitHub page. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it would be. Yeah.
Try a different browser or do Command Shift and N and try it. This doesn't save any cache.
Is that all we needed to change?
Yep. I've added so this was just the API originally, so it doesn't have any front end. So the only other thing I've done is I've added an index.html file and another root for slash. So after I get slash, it should send back index.html. Maybe also not really that public, but it should work. Oh.
Sharing and transfer.
I don't think it's any of those settings. doesn't, I think it's just information about user. I bet there's just a delay in propagation.
Okay,
It could be.
here we go.
It could be hours, what they, not always.
Yeah.
Ah, there it is. Cool. So it's not actually working.
Except there's nothing here yet.
Did you get the www? Well, it updated, but did you get the www and that one's the right way around?
All right, so
If they're the wrong way around, then it would do this.
Yeah.
basically, all we had to do just to get this running with Heroku Local,
Oh,
just had to add engines.
oh, wait, hold on.
And also you have to make sure that your npm start script exists.
Well, you just need to go back to.
So if you run this and you look up at the console of it, you'll get this warning where it's trying to find such a proc file. Proc file is the standard unit or the standard file that Heroku will look for to run your application. And it's really simple. I can open up one to show you from the test app.
That's why, because we got a thing. So I have to add my domain.
Right. And then they're going to be brand new, so you're going to have to copy them over to. Yeah.
I can't remember.
And then I have to do www.databases.net.
Both of them are good to have, yeah.
Okay, because
This is what a standard proc file would look like. Basically, first thing says web, and that defines what kind of dyno you should run, and then just the start command. So in this case, we would be running node index.js. So we can create our own inside the chat room RM folder, create something called proc file. In our case, on web again, and we know that the start command is node server.js. We can save this. We can stop our local web. And there we go, just instantly starts running. Doesn't give an error about the proc file. So it's not absolutely necessary, but if you would like to see less text in your console, then it's helpful. So now to demonstrate that we can just run it in Heroku exactly the same as we would run it locally, we can say, let's commit everything to our changes, git commit change.
Hosting or you don't need
all changes. All right. Oh, it's because these are untracked. Oops. There we go. We can do git push. Let me see. Oh, okay, so we didn't actually got to run Heroku git remote. It says another point. I don't know where I'm going to push this, so let's just see if I can just overwrite the queries and code app. Okay, and then we can git push Heroku.
it's working now. Yay.
Okay, it does not like that. That's great.
So you have conflicting commits because you had another repo go into the same site, right?
Yeah.
That's fun.
Well, I mean, never do this. Git push force is generally a bad idea, but for the sake of demoing, we'll just push it through. All right. So Heroku open. Okay. Oh. And there we go. So we see it's running on Heroku up here. Same ways as running on local, and now I can go to LSF zone, and there we go. So it's really not too difficult to create your own project to go into Heroku. Just a few things you have to remember. Keep your engines in package.json. You need either a proc file or your npm start command to be filled out. And finally, make sure that your server is listening on process.env.port. And that's really all there is to it. All right. So that's basically it for the demo right now. Does anybody have anything they want to talk about relating to Heroku or topics from the past week or?
Can we just like summarize real quick what we just did? Because I feel like I should be more excited, but I don't really know what we just did.
Sure. Okay. So we took a application that we would normally run using node server.js right from our terminal. We made some small modifications to it so we could run it in Heroku. And then we published it to Heroku so we can access it from the internet.
Okay.
And I mean, that in itself isn't super impressive, but it did only take 10-ish minutes to do so versus, I don't know, however long it would have taken to try and do it, all those steps manually.
Yeah. Okay. I did something in Corrosion Code Sandbox, trying to merge a bunch of sandboxes. How do you even 21 cards to some master really accidental stuff here? I don't know, but I hope you can fix that. Yeah, I did.
Got that one on Amazon, like this really for another one. But it initially got a little shop version. Got higher. No, most, I feel like most of the ones that did you read what it's called? That's like, yeah, well.
You know what? I always do both.
Like, why are you blue?
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not.
Like I had some of the applicators kind of work, so it didn't.
Yeah, well, I have one that my mom did when we were.
Yeah, no, I guess.
Like the teacher, they were really good.
But just because it stays on for a long time, you know, always story. I'm forever like, my lips aren't actually chapped. I just like them just so.
No, we're joking.
Well, we stuff now. Yeah, it's not the soft, it's the actual feeling of my lips getting so against each other. It was nice.
Yeah.
I think, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, mine was broken.
So I went.
We should absolutely.
The best part.
It was already great.
I don't know what's so crazy. It's really not.
I know. Yeah, somebody said it.
It's just a word.
boys.
Don't-
Stop. No, no boys. That's horrible.
I didn't realize that it just turns off all of your appointments.
Never thought of that
Once
before.
your free trial concludes. Free trial. So I had to reconfigure.
Like
it.
sports.
Okay. What's a good time? I think I have 4 or 5.
Voice something on it.
Oh, what? I think one would combine 2 words.
No, there's no, never
Like
that.
first, fourth, like
No.
first.
You just sound like my mom.
They foisted this on me. Means they put something on you that you didn't know. Yeah.
I think that's the.
FOISD.
Very fun. Are you supposed to impose an unavoidable?
That
Like
complex
one
is very
very person or thing on?
You sound like your mother. Am I correct?
Some people, I know, but that just.
For the long run.
Actually, yeah.
Growing up, I thought we were actually.
Saturday, 2, 3.
I've definitely, I love them. I mean, I love those expressions. When I was a kid, my mother was always coming up to me, they were neighbors, so they were learning English and they were like always throwing out idioms. And she was like, I don't know, I was talking to her about how I get up early and he was talking about, worms, something about worms. What are you talking about? So like, as I got older, I really, it was a combination of just finally like, oh, that must be, somebody must have said the early bird gets the worm, and she was like, I don't know what they're talking about now. Because English is crazy hard to learn with that. And then on top of that, I was always saying them wrong, so people were always correcting me. It was like my, everything that others. What is this Bootstrap Studio? Has anyone looked at it yet?
I think it helps really lay out. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll watch the tutorial later.
I was gonna look at it, but I
What's wrong with that?
Something, yeah, I gave you that. Then it's like. An hour.
What's wrong with that?
What time did we just say? Speaking of.
Sorry.
Don't we
Need
start?
to go off on a rant.
No, I like crayons. I'm all about crayons.
I don't, it really bothers me.
And one of those tabs is one tab, so it has all my tabs from the rest of them.
Yeah.
As I can't see, that doesn't actually appreciate product.
You know what, it does for me, because
I mean,
then I
I
go
think
there
we're
and like.
sort of losing people here, but it's,
We're dropping like flies.
they're getting restless.
Sorry.
How's it going?
No, actually, I am rocking and rolling over here.
So is Alice. I can't, can you hear me?
Can you leave? You go
No,
home?
no?
Sorry, I was muted.
Yeah. How's it going?
Good. So I was just I was able to deploy a app to. I was able to deploy just like the version of this app that removed all the database stuff to remote. So now I just want to see if I could just replace localhost with database URL to see if it will work.
That's in quotes though.
Yeah, it is. Good call.
Yeah. Oh, that was messed up.
Good call.
Okay, but I have a
Traction, better not. Oh,
No, it's still broken.
Wow, yeah.
Because I'm old?
No, I'm just saying, like, I don't know many kids back then.
I love this kind of stuff. The
He
green
said
and the yellow.
sugar
are
cat.
my
So
Oh, my goodness.
And That's the subtitle. You can't discuss anything anymore.
Now you get, those will be.
I want to quickly go over my database policy, we can do what I need. And then I want to read. But I also have to work. Yeah, I'm just waiting, right, I'm just waiting for it to. Like, that it's done. Like, I mean, I have the free one, but I also, like, it's only $15 a month.
Alan, you still here?
I'm still here.
Do you know the Jefferson Airplane song?
Which one?
White Rabbit.
Yeah.
I know Jefferson Airplane turned into Jefferson Starship, but I'm not sure I know that song.
You would know if you heard it. It's a trip. There's a book. Literally a trip.
This Heroku stuff is moving along extremely smooth.
Sorry, Dana.
The Heroku lesson, now that I have my new domain and I have it to Heroku and I'm actually following the steps on the Heroku website.
Yeah, I know, and then
It's moving along extremely well.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah, I am. What am I?
I mean, if you like using it, I definitely recommend using it for your capstone. It's a good system for sure.
Oh, I'm sorry, what did you say?
If you like Heroku, I definitely recommend using it for your capstone. It's a really good system.
Yeah, so I was able to confirm that everything was installed to work with Heroku, and now I'm viewing the logs. And
Sure.
let's see, yeah, so I'm just going through the tutorial and it's working out great, no problem.
Perfect. I added some extra documentation in the back of the slides. There's just some links to more documentation about the command line and Heroku's Postgres install and how to Heroku set up Node.js apps for Heroku. So some of that might be helpful as well.
Okay, thank you, Alice.
All right. Well, I guess that's it for me. I'll stop the share now. Have a good night, everyone. I will talk to you all next week.
All right, have a good one, Aaron.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And
Good night.
good night. We're losing them. I'll see you everyone on Saturday. Yeah. And then okay. Bye.
Bye.
So thank you for walking me through C name and A name and all that stuff. That was